Hello, hello. My name's Erica Anderson. I am co-founder and chief customer officer for Storytell. And I am really excited to be here with Cheryl Solis, who's the founding technical writer for Stellit and really has quite the renown in Silicon Valley with a community of technical writers. And so we'll get started in a moment. And Cheryl, I'll have you introduce yourself, but just want to give a little time for people to arrive. And thank you to everyone who is joining us today. In terms of what we're doing and where we're going, maybe I'll just speak to like what's happening right now, which obviously our webinar is live. We're streaming it on YouTube. And Angela is our incredible behind the scenes logistics person who makes all this happen. So Angela, if we could go to the next slide. And so, yes, I'll just speak to a few house things like how we're going to spend our time. At any point, drop questions in chat or in Q&A, whichever you prefer. Would love to know, where are you joining us from? What would you like to get out of this? You know, we're really here for you. And something I'm really excited about is there's a lot of talk about technical writing, but not necessarily a lot of grounding in the foundations of it. And so this is going to, what Cheryl's prepared for us, brings in that foundation and shows how Cheryl's using our product as a augmenter. And yeah, we'd love to know where in the world are you joining from? And we will do a focused Q&A at the end, but we might be able to, answer your questions in chat as we go. So don't hold back. Please just share whatever comes up as it comes up. And I know we've got technical writers joining us today. So thank you. Dive in. This is a conversation. It is not a monologue. So if you have different viewpoints, thoughts, questions as we go, just like, please, 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 we welcome it all. So with that, Cheryl, I'm going to hand it over to you to do a more kind of in-depth introduction of yourself.
Certainly. Hello, everyone. My name is Cheryl Solis. I have been a technical writer, manager, director of other technical writers for quite a while in Silicon Valley and working for a number of different companies from LinkedIn to Atlassian and many others. But more recently, I joined a very small startup company called Stellit. They're in the GraphQL space, which is an alternative to REST development. My audience is largely developers, and so I'm going to be speaking from that perspective. And one of the things about joining a small startup, I joined as the only writer, the founding writer for this company. It's a small company. It had less than 20 people. And I was responsible for everything, writing, publishing, editing, everything. And so my perspective on AI comes from that position. I had to be able to do a number of things, wear a number of hats, and these days, software moves at a lightning speed, and being able to support that made me start looking at what AI can give me to supplement the things I do. And along the way, I use different types of AIs like ChatGPT and others. And I encountered Storytell AI and kind of fell in love with it because it gave me a bit more structure and history to doing my job. So that's sort of my background. Um, and what I want to do is go ahead and launch into some of the ways that I use Storytell. And also I relied on some other tools, largely Chat GPT, as kind of a supplement. And I'll talk a little bit about the difference in how I use them as we go along.
Awesome. Thank you,
So,
Cheryl. I'll just be like stepping in
sure.
here and there as a support. One other thing I just wanted to mention for everyone who's joining us. So what the journey Cheryl's taking us on essentially has two parts of one, a presentation of really just we're gonna walk through the deck that Cheryl's created around process and some principles, and then we'll go into a live demo, Cheryl, that you'll be doing of our smart chat platform to see, okay, you saw some screenshots, what does that actually look like? And then at the very end, I'll show in our beta how you can start to do some of these things as well. Okay, back to you, Cheryl.
Okay, so let's get started. Some things for you to know. If you go back to the previous slide, um, these are things that are important for you to know. The webinar is being recorded and live streamed, and you can just see those things that you can do on your own uh, when necessary. And if you advance to the next slide, an important thing to know is your role in your AI journey. And you could be AI avoidant, you could be curious. I'm going to get rid of this. You could be an enthusiast.
Yeah, Cheryl, sorry. I we gave you a little funky entree here. So I don't mean to make you speak to our slides.
Right, right. It's okay. I have been on this journey, and
Where where that I think actually that would be really interesting. So we have kind of segmented how we see people interacting with AI from this I can't, I won't, I will, I am. I'm living this. I'm doing this. Space and maybe this is an opportunity to speak a little bit to your AI journey, just using this as a reference.
certainly I started out concerned about AI. And it's not to say that I'm not still concerned. I have certain concerns about privacy and copyright issues and things like that. And I started looking into it and using Chat GPT, say, in a very limited way. Um, I tried, I avoided it in my tech writing persona. Um, and then necessity made me step into the AI realm because I needed help. If I wanted to achieve certain things, and there was no way unless, this small 20-person team could hire, five other writers, which wasn't going to happen. Uh, and and so I started integrating the two ideas of um, how can I use AI? How can I use it in a way that was ethical to me, and produce the things that I wanted to while still maintaining control over content. And so I became more AI curious. I looked at, various types of AIs, and saw presentation of Storytell, and I thought, well, this is really close to what I'm looking for, and they continue to evolve. And so now I'm a bit of an AI enthusiast in the sense that this particular AI is giving me what I need. Um, and I use it somewhat enthusiastically, while keeping in mind, all the other issues that I are part of my ethical framework. So I am an enthusiast, and that is why I am here to talk a little bit about uh, how I use AI in my as part of my one-person team to create documentation. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, if you've ever been interviewed for technical writing, or are just joined a company or are a novice technical writer, one of the things that you are asked is, what do you think about first before you start writing? And uh, very often, almost always, the answer is, uh, who is your audience? If you don't know who your audience is, it's going to be hard for you to create appropriate documentation. So if we initially look at an audience, so if you go to the next slide, a lot of people will start out by saying, especially if you're very experienced, we might think, oh, I know my audience. I'm surrounded by them. I have developers. If you're writing for internal developers, they're all right there. You might be writing for admins, and we can build up this idea that we know our audience. But a lot of more modern knowledge has seeped into the technical writing world, especially from UX and customer experience. And two ideas from those areas are user journeys and user personas. And so I started out writing for developers, and I moved into this world of GraphQL, which is aimed at a very specific domain in programming. And what I discovered was, I need a better understanding of my developers.
Mhm.
I don't have a team of UX designers to go query. I've had the experience of developing user personas at different companies, and that is a very important role to take. But in my little company, I didn't have a lot of time. I did some of the groundwork, um, but I also leaned on uh, my AI, my Storytell AI, to help me develop some good user personas. Uh, so if we go to the next slide, um, I developed this idea that I can use the AI and understand my audience with personas. So if we go to the next slide, we can start to look at that. So I sketched out some personas, and I didn't have a lot of details. I talked to many of the developers I worked with to get a sense of, what they did. And as you can see, we have different kinds of personas just within the development world. All developers are not equal. You have front end developers, back end, full stack, and more. And so once I realized that, I started to upload some content about developers to develop personas. And if we go to the next slide, we can see how I used uh, Storytell to do two things. One, I used it to enhance the details of my persona development. And the other, I realized, the personas I developed, they're sort of very based on my familiarity. And I wanted to appeal to a wider audience because I'm working with developers around the world. And so I wanted to create some content that would help me develop documentation that had a wider audience appeal. And so I combined all this information, uploaded it into Storytel. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see that the first thing is I got details about my personas, and very important, what kind of skills they have, and what kind of tools they use. And this was very important because I was writing in a new realm, and the dazzling array of different tools would be very hard to learn in a short term. So I leveraged some of the information I'd gathered, and some I retrieved from Storytel to develop short personas that gave me an idea of what my developers would be using. And I started to leverage tags to further refine what I was looking for. So let's go to the next slide. And we'll see, this is just a blow up of what I generated. For GraphQL personas, there were a lot of details. Now, one of the things I think I skipped a slide, perhaps, was if we go back to the previous slide, you'll see on the left-hand side something called My Tags. And you'll see that associated with these tags is content. And what I did was I created a tag called Wider Audience Appeal. When I started out, I uploaded and derived some personas, but they had all the same, similar type names, and they didn't represent a diverse group of people or a global group of people. So I uploaded some variety of personas into this tag. So when I uploaded my content, I applied that tag and generated a more global set of personas. And that's what we will see in the next slide. Instead of just Mike and John, we now have, I have personas that represent who I'm really interacting with on a day-to-day basis. It's not only Mike and John, but it can be May, it could be Priya, it could be an integrator, an architect, and they all have different tools and skills that they bring to bear in development. So now I sort of have a better idea of who my audience is. And so what is the practical application? You may have been assigned, go develop these personas, and you find out they like to drink coffee in the morning, and, they like, certain kinds of hard rock music, and you might even understand a bit about how they go about doing their development process. So how would I use these personas in my content? One way, if we go to the next slide, this is an actual use case. I had a tutorial. It was written before I got there, and it had two characters in it. Amanda, who's looking at our edge caching and using it, and she's running a query. And then we have Mike, who's a different user. And I thought, how can I take this tutorial and make it appeal to a wider audience, show some variety? And so I took the tag, wider audience appeal. I took my tutorial, which I uploaded, and I applied the tag to that content. And once I did that, if we go to the next slide, you'll see how I did this. I uploaded my Stellar documentation. It was called Scopes, and it had a tag. And then I added a tag. You can see there's a button where you can add any number of tags to this content. And then when I chatted with the content, I said, I want to have my tutorial have a wider audience appeal. And uh, once I hit that query, we'll see in the next slide. That's the query I created. And I asked it to rewrite the content and generate it in a human readable format. And Storytell, then we'll look at this next slide to show what Storytell generated. So we have different names. We have Aisha, our first user, and Raj, a different user. And so let's say you have a number of tutorials, you can have a wider variety of names, and if you want to get into more detail, I might have Storytell add what tools they would be using for this tutorial geared towards that specific person. So let's say Aisha was a front end developer and Raj was a full stack developer. I might have Storytell add information about what tooling Raj might use for this tutorial, specifically geared to his role as a full stack developer. So it's just a tiny, quick little taste of what you can do with Storytell. And if we go back to the slide that shows the Storytell tags, one of the things that I really liked about using Storytell are these tags, because they give you a structure, they give you history, and they give you a kind of three-dimensional interaction with your content. If you use a traditional AI, you would have to put these queries in and then remember to always put them in to generate your content. Whereas here, I can just slide a tag over and say, apply this, and get mostly consistent output of what I'm looking for. So that's just one of the ways that we can leverage Storytell to enhance our technical writing activities.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'll just jump in since we have the screenshot up that this is in our content manager in our original Smart Chat platform. So like Cheryl's saying, and you said it beautifully, the tags you can upload, as many files as you want to a particular tag, almost like a dynamic folder. And, different, you can have, one document that has various tags. You can bring numerous tags together when you're chatting with it. So it'll all make more sense, probably in the live demo, but just to give you a sense in the platform of where we are, which is in the, content manager, kind of looking at the knowledge base that you've uploaded to Storytell. All right, back to you, Cheryl.
Sure. So in the interest of time, let's go on. Let's advance about 3 slides, I think. Okay. Now, another way, and I'm really focusing on tags because I find them to be a great shortcut, and to be able to think about what I'm doing in a structured way. The others AIs, they give you a panel where you can interact, but it's usually one query at a time. Now, AI is advancing so rapidly. I'm sure there's many other models out there that allow you to do different things. But this is the model that I'm currently using, and it gives me a lot of what I need. So after you understand your audience, where do you go then? Different companies have different writing models that they adhere to. Uh, if you're a novice tech writer, there's a slew of different models, and you need to learn what the underlying model is for what you'll be writing. Some companies are very strict. Some, a lot of little startups just say, write blogs, write in a friendly manner. Uh, and some have style guides and some don't. But I want to talk a little bit about the writing models. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see one of a very popular model, although it is fairly what we would, it's not a lightweight model. It requires a lot of planning and preparation, is DITA, the Darwin Information Typing Architecture. Many of you are already familiar with this and use it. Others might be new to it. But essentially, it looks at content and divides it into, let's call them design patterns, which are concepts, primarily concepts, tasks, or procedures, step-by-step instructions, and reference. And if you write for developers, your references, typically APIs, sometimes command line references, and the DITA model separates these into separate areas, separate topics, and then allows you to join them into information maps. There's other kinds of models. There's, modular documentation, minimalism, living documentation that's continuously updated. If we go, let's quickly go through some of the models. So next slide. One popular model right now is Docs as code, and that's more about how you store and publish documentation, but a little bit also in how the structure of how you create it and what you create it with. Right now, Markdown is the language of choice for Docs as code. Other models include wiki-based documentation, and that can be something like Confluence or Nuclino. There are even wikis now that are inherently AI-based. There's a wiki type tool called Writer, and it is very heavily has an underlying AI structure built in. If you're writing for developers, you may be already familiar with Swagger and open APIs, and that is a whole seminar all in itself. So let's look at some of the others in the next slide. Many of you may be familiar with code samples and sandboxes. We are seeing the development and the use of AI, especially in sandboxes, I'll say. A company called Stripe offers a good example wherein the content may be on a left panel and an interactive sandbox on the right that allows you to experiment with the code and see the results as you're reading about it. Other types of documentation that we're familiar with is walkthroughs and tutorials. These are step-by-step guides, and you'll see that in my previous examples around audience and personas, that I was applying AI tags to a tutorial and enhancing it with the advanced tooling that I can use with AI. And then another area is video tutorials and webinars. And I'm going to segue on this one for just a moment I'm primarily going to be talking about using AI when creating data documentation. But I do want to mention that in my case, many of my developers preferred to explain their features and apps by creating video demos. Things, various video tools like Loom or Zeit or Zoom uh, makes it easy for developers to create quick demos about what they're doing. And so in the past, I used to have to hand collate the information from the video to glean the appropriate information for my documentation. That was very time intensive. Um, Now, companies like Zoom now generate transcripts, which is an advance, but you still have to go through the transcript and glean the appropriate information that you want. When I started using Storytell, I found out that you can upload videos and it will distill much of the essential information that you need. You can ask it, you know, give me all the concepts from this video, write step-by-step instructions based on the demo in this video. So that was a big time saver. Okay, so let's go on. A couple more advances is the use of chatbots and virtual assistants. They are gathering lots of information, and that is something that we as writers, in order to understand our customers better and write and solve their issues, need to pay attention to these things, and the ability to um, get that information and use it in our documentation to help solve a customer's problem is going to be more and more important. And then there are tools that do automated documentation generation. They use machine learning and they can update documentation based on code changes. There's a little bit of tools like Swagger, as well as more advanced tools that let you um, uh, automate some of the ability to take information that is changing. So for example, let's say you have a user interface and the developers go in and they change some of the buttons, they change some of the functionality. There is tooling that you can do to track those changes. And then you can embed that in your documentation so that, let's say you change a button's name from, start to okay. Um, if you use that in your documentation, you can tie the two together so that every time the button changes, it changes in the documentation. That's pretty advanced, and it's a big project to do, but it's kind of interesting and part of the future. Okay, let's go on. So I'm going to focus a little bit on using Storytell to generate data topics. Many companies use data. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it certainly is out there. And for the most part, even if we're not using data, we have a tendency to fall into these patterns anyway. If we write a topic, we need to explain a little bit about the concepts behind it. Let's say it's a tutorial, so with some step-by-step instructions. And so we have the sequence of instructions. And then we might want to include some reference material, a list of commands in that. Now, data separates all these. I'm going to approach the Storytell AI usage from that standpoint, but you can use it in a number of different ways. So let's go to the next slide. So let's say I want to create a concept topic So I'm adhering to my data format and I want to create a concept. So I have a video. In this case, I had a video created by uh, a developer. Sorry, lost track of my thought. Um, and actually, this was a blog. Sorry, not a video. The next one will be a video. Uh, and so there's lots of blogs out there. And let's say I want to derive some concepts from that blog. So I tag the blog. I have the rate limiting blog. And this is a topic from my company's uh, applications. And I have a tag in which I uploaded my model of data concepts. What are the headings? What is the content that goes under these headings? And so once I put the tags together, I'm going to chat with the content and say, give me a concept based on the structure of my data concepts. Now, I could do all this in say Chat GPT, but I'd have to do very sophisticated prompts, and I might have to, store them somewhere else in order to reuse them again and again. And that is like a little too difficult for me because I have to work at speed. I'm the only writer in my company and I have to do things really fast. So here with these tags, I have my data structures and I upload my content and I can have content from blogs, from text, from the web, from videos, and I can say, okay, derive some concepts about rate limiting from this mass of content that I've uploaded. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see. This is a very short excerpt and kind of artificial, but I did it this way so that we have enough time to go through all the slides. So this is a short excerpt that says, gives me a concept, the introduction, which is part of the data structure that I created, what's important about it, why should I care about it, and so forth. And I have a bunch of other headings that are part of standardized content that I consider the structure for my particular set of topics. So you can see all I had to do was put the two tags together, create a query that said, or a prompt that said, please apply the data concepts to this material that I've uploaded and generate a concept for me. Now, lest you be afraid that, AI is going to replace your job, I would say not quite yet, because it's going to give you some material, but it may not be enough. It may not be detailed enough. It may be inaccurate because it's drawing from some existing material. And you may know that instead of preventing infrastructure overload, rate limiting is now doing something else. And you will have to go in there, read it, and you become more of an editor and enhancer as opposed to trying to go and hunt and research all this information for hours, days. The AI becomes a bit of your researcher, allowing you to take a mass of information, about probably 70% of which is not useful for what you're trying to do, and distill the essence of what you're looking for. In this case, I was looking for some concepts. Now, I may need to go back and do another couple of queries saying, hey, you forgot this important thing in rate limiting. Can you describe it? Can you get it from these information sources?
Hey Cheryl, I'd love to jump in here just around this whole like where are we with AI today? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop in a link to a podcast I was just listening to. It's cautionary tales looking at the Air France Airbus crash back in the late 2000s. And there have been a few podcasts about it over the years. Also, what was in the black box, that whole transcript, and popular mechanics. But this recent podcast is looking at it from the lens of AI because it had an AI assist that turned off, and it turned out no one actually really knew how to fly the plane in a dangerous situation, which was a thunderstorm. And the point is not to get us to start talking about plane crashes or anything, but just AI. Also, there have been studies. It's like we get the best output when the AI is pretty good, but not perfect. Because when it goes into perfect mode, then we just turn off. And so that's really, Cheryl, how I hear you speaking, whether it's working with Storytell or ChatGPT, like you're the coach, you're the mentor, you're the expert, and you're getting it to completion, but it's not being a hunter-gatherer having to go amass it all from scratch every time.
Exactly. In using AI, it's great to leverage it, but from my perspective, I am the gatekeeper. I am still responsible for ensuring that every single word in the content is accurate and complete and has clarity. Uh, so I can never turn myself off, but I can I can leverage the AI to assist me in doing some of the tasks that would be extremely difficult for me to do at speed, like transcribing um, a video and uh, distilling the right information from it. I still have to go back and watch the video just to make sure that I'm not missing anything important. And I go back and read the topic generated by the AI, and I do a lot of editing, uh, but it does save me time. So that's an advantage, but we can never turn off our gatekeeper function, um, lest we want our APIs to crash around us.
Right. And speaking of time, we want to leave about the last 5 minutes or so for questions. So I know you want to show this example, and so if we can do that, and then we'll move into like a live demo.
Sure. Let's advance and let's take about 3 minutes to go through a couple of slides. So here, I applied the did a task tag that I had set up with a structure. And one of the things you'll notice is both my concepts and my task have an introduction. So creating a tags that are consistent allows me to ensure that my topic headings are consistent. And so every time I upload some mass of content and I say, I want to turn this into a task, I'll have an introduction, I'll have some prerequisites, and I'll have steps. Now, again, this is an artificially created example, and there's a lot of interactivity between me and the AI to get there. But I do get consistency, and I don't have to redo this over and over again. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's advance to the next slide, and I'll jump right in. You're a new writer and the only writer at a small company, and you need a style guide. you can leverage Storytell to create the scaffolding so you can get started, because otherwise it might seem like an overwhelming task and your boss is saying, oh, we need, 10,000 pages of documentation tomorrow. And you're going, oh my goodness. So that's one thing where it can help. Again, it's scaffolding. You have to actually put the clay on this style guide to make it work, but it helps you get started. It helps overcome the blank page fear. But let's go to the next slide, and I'll briefly talk about another way you can use Storytell and other AIs, but in this case, using tags. So next slide. You can create, so there's this concept of doc linting in which you apply rules to your content. Often this is done during a build of your documentation. It used to be we had, uh, pre-production where you went and edited all of your content and against certain rules. So I created these content rules. Format all head level titles and initial caps, format in-text commands, APIs, and code in a consistent monospace font. Now, current documenters can identify what's wrong, but many of them can't fix it. So I thought, let me see if I can use Storytell to help me. And so if you go to the next slide, we'll see this is a sample, and look at the headings are all over the place. And so I uploaded this content, and if we go to the next slide, you'll see here's some sample output. On the left, it's in Markdown. On the right, it's in human readable text, and you'll see all of the headings are consistently in initial cap. And Storytell was able to tell the difference between words and prepositions, and only initial cap the words, the appropriate words. So that using Storytell as a doc linter, that can actually fix some of the issues. And you'll see also in the previous slide, I didn't mention it, but the commands and API call outs, like the stellate cache, that should be in a monospace font, max age, scope commands, those should all be in a monospace font. So because I applied the rules, if we look at the next slide, you'll see that stellate cache is in a monospace font. So little things like that are hard to catch. You can create a set of rules, put them in a tag, and then apply the tag to your content. Okay, let's see where we are. Next slide. I think we're at the end. Yes. So I'll get back to Storytell advantages. You can already see many of them. Do we have time to do a real time activity?
Yeah, I would say let's do a just maybe like a 3 minute demo if you want
Okay,
to share your screen.
sure. Righty. Let me share. And I did the slides because, that old adage, demos,
Oh, live demos.
they inevitably,
Things will go wrong for sure. It looks like, yeah, you've got great. Are you getting your prompts? There you go.
yeah, here we go. Okay, so I'm using the classic as opposed to the beta new version of Storytell, just because I'm so familiar with it. I'm less likely to, do some major glitch. And so you have your Storytell instance, and let's say you wanted to upload information. You go ahead and do that. I've pre-populated my Storytell instance with some content, and you'll see it. I uploaded cache directives, my content rules, rate limiting. Somewhere in here, there's actually a video. Yes, right here. Here's a video, and it's already uploaded. If I wanted to upload more, I just hit the upload button and I can drop many different types of formats in there. In fact, let's go ahead and look at that. We've got docs, PDFs, PowerPoint, XML, text, and so forth. So I could upload a bunch of things. In the interest of time, we're going to take a look at this. This is a video I uploaded, and it's from the public part of Stella documentation. It's an embedded video. But let's say I wanted to create something using this video. I don't want to go hand transcribe it. It's already in Storytell. And let me add a tag. And so let's say we want to create a did a task topic. So I'm going to add that tag, and then I'm going to chat with the content. You'll see there's the video, and there's a bit of a summary there. But let's say what I want to do is apply the did a task tag to this content and generate a task topic. Let's see what it does. There are no guarantees. This is why we are the gatekeepers, and we can never turn ourselves off. Well, that's interesting. We're going to stop answering, and we're going to talk to it again and say, this is in a particular format. So what I want to do is say, using the data task apply. Sorry. See, we still have to do a
All
lot.
the prompting, right? Kind of like Kane, what you were just saying about becoming prompt engineers.
Exactly. Tag to this content and generate a task topic in a human readable. And let's try that again. And for some reason, it is still doing something glitchy.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're experiencing the live demo curse here.
But let's see what happens if I do. Okay, here it's doing it in HTML, and I'm not sure why. But that could be in the way that I uploaded the information. Any suggestions, Erica?
I think that we could specify the output more.
Okay.
But I'm also thinking you could play around with that. Meanwhile, I could screen share and just show our beta, and then we could come back. So I would say
Sounds great.
keep prompting,
Yeah.
and then I'll screen share. Okay. So just to set expectations, I know, speaking to a technical writer audience here, we all know betas are betas. So we launched this, we totally rewrote our code base starting in March. just learning from Smart Chat. And so in our personas, we have technical writer. And as you go here, we've got different prompts that basically it will step you through a process. And for instance, okay, let's say that you want to generate documentation based on something you already have. So basically what we're seeing Cheryl do. And just to show you, what am I doing? What's the information I'm taking? Well, this is our most recent Eng demo. We've got one every week. And it's not just one feature, it's everything that they're shipping. But I'm gonna go ahead and hit send to kick this off, and I need to upload that existing information. Now in our development server, we've got 1,000 file types, so they'll be coming to production, but right now these are the file types we have. So in order to work with that, I'm just adding in the product and eng demo as a PDF so that we can start to extract information from this. And so we're getting some documentation from here, with the whole table of contents. But yeah, would love for you to test out our beta, our prompts, and give us feedback. And Cheryl, do you want me to bring
Yeah,
it back to you?
sure.
Yeah, okay. So I'll stop sharing and yeah, are you getting it to get the responses that you're
Yes,
looking for?
and I am just going to show the prompt and what I've done just to avoid the demo jinx. So here, because as Erica suggested, I specify the exact format I want. I asked here my prompt, I changed it from, apply the data tag to the graph rate limiting demo content and create a task topic in Markdown format. And Markdown is, much friendlier to read than HTML. But here we see, here's, the title is a head 1, the introduction's a head 2, and here's some steps: create a service, configure rate limiting. And so this is a task. One, if you're familiar with data, that you would have done many times. I can also create a prompt for the same information, this demo video, and say, apply the data concept tag and create a concept topic in Markdown format. And it would generate just the conceptual information. So that's a little demo of what we can do. And I want to see if that's okay with everyone. Angela was able to take my content and let's see if I can. Oh, I need to just go look at the link.
Yeah, are you going into our beta and just
Yes.
obviously we're we're trying to pack a lot in here. So if you have
Are we running out of time?
we've
Okay,
got
let me stop. Let
a
me stop here.
minute.
We can do a beta demo some other time. But basically, what Angela did was she took the content of my tags, my data tags, I think, or persona, and she put it into a workflow so that when I upload content, all I have to do is upload it if I'm on that page, and it will automatically apply that tag to that content. So I don't even have to continually remember the prompts.
Mhm.
They're already embedded in the workflow. So that makes things even more swift.
Yeah, and if actually if you step through on the beta, um if you go back to the
Let
screen
me,
we're on.
sure, let me get out of here. And let me go back.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah. So Angela put it in chat. But if you select work at the top,
sure.
so it's a little bit of a click through right now. Um, so and you go to content, we did change it so they are alphabetical. And then
Yay.
select technical writer. These are the prompts we have here. So would love to get y'all's feedback on these as you try them out. And like Cheryl's talking, all the steps are there. But we're just getting started. We actually, you're the first people who are seeing these. So we just released them. So they're definitely going to need some work. And Cheryl, I think we're seeing your Slack now.
Yes, and that's okay. I'm actually trying to find the link that Angela sent me that'll take me directly to.
It's in our chat.
Yeah, I just sent Cheryl. Yep. In the Zoom chat.
But
And okay.
as you look for that, Cheryl, we're past the hour.
Oh, okay,
So
sorry.
I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. A really robust conversation. And too many people to name everyone. Yeah, I loved what was happening in chat while you were taking us on a journey, Cheryl, as well. And yeah, we'd love to get your feedback. We'll be sharing a recording. So I know everyone has busy days to get back to, and just a lot of gratitude to you all for joining us today.
Yes, I covered a lot of information. I apologize that we didn't have a chance to do some Q&A, but maybe we can get back and answer any questions in an async fashion.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Tim. I know, ethical enthusiast. That's a great way to put it, Timothy. Appreciate you all for joining. So happy to be having these conversations. And I think we'll go on out of the Zoom room